Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive, and welcome to our Westchester Weekly Update. Today is Monday, August 26th. This is the last Monday in the month of August, and the next time we speak to you will be Tuesday, September 3rd, after Labor Day. So the official beginning of the fall meteorologically comes sometime in mid-September, but I think for most of us, practically speaking, we look at Labor Day as the end of the summer season. So this is sort of the last week of summer, and in keeping with that, this is also the last full week of our free Beeline bus service across Westchester County. This is the third consecutive summer that we've made the Beeline bus system free for all riders. That applies to paratransit as well. If you haven't taken advantage of the free B, this would be the last week to do it. We reestablish fares on Tuesday, September 3rd. But between today and a week from today, which is Labor Day Monday, you can ride the buses. You can take a bus to Playland. You can take a bus to Glen Island. You can take a bus from Pelham and go all the way to downtown Peekskill. You'll need to transfer. Walk around Peekskill. Wonderful place to walk around, great restaurants, get back on the bus, go back to Pelham, and do it without having to charge any transportation costs. It's a wonderful system, and we do this during the summer because we know that there are kids out there. We want them to be able to get where they want to go to, and also it's a help for those people who need the bus as transportation. Give them a little financial break during the summer 2 months. And we also think, and this comes from my marketing background, we want to do a little bit of trial awareness. If you haven't taken the bus and you take it and you like it, then you can use the bus more frequently as we reinstitute fares. So we're happy we could do that. We've got one more week of free Beeline bus system. Take good use of it, and we appreciate the opportunity to present that for all of our Westchester friends and residents. In today's update, we have two of our commissioners of departments who are going to be here to talk about different issues. I'm going to be bringing on in just a second Dr. Charlita Amler, who is our Commissioner of Health, and she's going to talk about back-to-school vaccinations. This is also the season to think about back to school. And then we will have our Commissioner of the Department of Community Mental Health, Michael Orth, who will be here, and he's going to talk about Overdose Awareness Week, which is what we are commemorating as we get ready for another school season. We're going to touch upon our plans for September 11th that's coming up. We're going to have a remembrance of a really great man, Harry Phillips III, and a really great radio station, WCBS 880, that ceased operations as an all-news station just yesterday. And so a few other things we're going to mention. Ken Jenkins, Deputy County Executive, is out of town this week. We swapped our vacation time, so he had a program. I have this one, and we'll all be back in the saddle for the fall come next Tuesday. So first up, it is almost back to school time. I'm very mindful of that TV commercial. I don't want to give a free plug to a store, but they have the music playing. It's the most wonderful time of the year, and the mother is exuberantly pushing a cart through a school supply store while the kid looks glum, because this is the time of the year you go back to school. We have folks here who have children who now face back to school. But it's not just getting notebooks and all the paraphernalia you need for studying. It's being prepared to go back into a social setting after the summertime and being prepared for the good public health that we need to have. So I'm going to invite Dr. Charlita Amler, our health commissioner, to come up. She has, over the 7 years that we've had the opportunity to work together, she served in the prior administration as well. She has been our guru in what to focus on for good public health. And this time we're talking about back to school vaccinations. Dr. Amler, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, sir. So yes, I want to thank County Executive Latimer for giving me the opportunity to talk about back-to-school vaccines. In a little over a week, thousands of Westchester children will be headed back to school, and parents have a lot to do to get ready. Scheduling your child's catch-up for their vaccinations is as important as making sure that they have the right school supplies. Some children fell behind schedule during the pandemic. That's not surprising to, I don't think, any of us. And many families are still catching up on these life-saving vaccines. Vaccine coverage is nationally lowest for vaccines that require multiple doses. So those that have boosters, children are the most behind on them. I encourage parents who have no insurance, no health insurance, and those who are concerned that their health insurance may not cover back-to-school vaccines to reach out to us at the County Health Department to learn whether their children will qualify for free vaccines through the Vaccines for Children program with New York State Department of Health. The Vaccine for Children program enables that every child in this county, regardless of their immigration status or their ability for their family to pay, have access to free vaccines through the age of 18 years of age. And I would like to congratulate all those parents who have already scheduled appointments for their children to be sure to be up to date on all their vaccines and tell them what a great job they're doing as parents. Making sure that your child is vaccinated against childhood diseases is one of the best ways parents can help children learn, because vaccines keep children healthy and in school. And that's what they need to be to learn best, healthy and in school. New York State requires every child, those in daycare, preschool through 12th grade, to stay current on the recommended schedule of vaccines if they are going to remain in class. If they don't have the appropriate vaccines when they get back to school, they will be excluded until those vaccines are brought up to date. So for parents who haven't scheduled their children's vaccine visits yet, now is the right time to call us or to call the child's health care provider to schedule these shots. We have vaccine appointments available next week through September for families whose insurance doesn't cover the cost of the vaccines or who have no insurance, and those with Medicaid. So please call us to schedule an appointment and check on your child's eligibility. Our back-to-school vaccine clinics are held from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. as follows. Monday at our White Plains Clinic, which is at 134 Court Street here in White Plains. They will, however, be closed for Labor Day. And Thursdays and Fridays at our Yonkers Clinic at 20 South Broadway. We do administer a wide variety of vaccines depending on the age of the child and the vaccines that they've already had or are missing. So to schedule a vaccine visit, please call us at 914-995-5800, 914-995-5800. And if you have private insurance, we would strongly suggest that you reach out to your health care provider to make sure that your children have the vaccines that they need to stay in school. So I want to thank the county executive and thank all of you for getting your children vaccinated and keeping them healthy and safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's Dr. Charlene Amler, our Commissioner of Health, with good, healthy advice. We had her out in front of Saxonwood Pool during the heart of the summertime and in a host of other contexts. And Charlene, we appreciate your leadership and leadership throughout the health department as we head to the fall. Want to just highlight as we get ready to talk about some of the substantive issues in community mental health after this one, we want to send out our condolences to the families and the friends of Harry Phillips III. Harry Phillips was a trailblazer in executive benefits within the insurance industry, a Westchester resident for many, many years, and he had many numerous milestones in his professional career. But what made him particularly important in our Westchester County government world was his service as chairman of the board for Westchester Community College for so many years, and then his service as a New York State regent, and the Board of Regents governs all of public education in New York State. He was a resident of Greenburgh for many, many years and ended up his time in Sleepy Hollow at the Kendall facility. He was appointed a trustee of the community college in 1989 and was elected the chair of the board in 1995. And throughout all of that period of time, he was part of many of the important decision-making that was done to make that college continue to grow and advance its educational mission. He was active in the WCC's Collegium for Lifelong Learning. I had a chance to visit that program a few times, and with the Westchester Community College Foundation. We lost Harry a few weeks ago, a really wonderful man, brilliant man, successful individual, but an example of what you see in Westchester all the time. People who have great success in the world, financial and otherwise, but are still willing to give back time, energy, and effort, and some of their financial resources to help organizations that are providing a service to people that don't have some of those advantages. So for Harry Phillips, for those of you who knew him, for all of us who respected him, Harry, we send you a love letter here from Westchester County, from the government and the people of Westchester County. Thank you for your service, and may you rest in power in the days to come. Next up, our Commissioner of the Department of Community Mental Health, Michael Orth. He too has done a brilliant job in his responsibilities. I'm pleased that he has served during this administration over our almost 7 years. Again, he had prior service directly before the beginning of this administration. And so, as with Dr. Amler, we were wise enough to see talent and maintain talent in positions of authority to get the benefit of that. He's going to talk this week about Overdose Awareness Week. It's been proclaimed by President Biden. And Michael, help us understand why we had this week and what its benefits are.
Thank you. Thank you so much, County Executive. Thank you. As the County Executive mentioned, this week we recognize International Overdose Awareness Week. We remember the lives lost of families impacted by substance misuse and overdose deaths. Drug overdose is a global crisis, as we know. Over the past 20 years, drug overdose deaths have increased significantly in many parts of the world, including our own country. Opioids account for 2/3 of drug overdose deaths, with the majority involving synthetic opioids, primarily fentanyl. As we all know, Westchester County is unfortunately not immune from overdose. Fortunately, in Westchester County, under the leadership of County Executive Latimer, Deputy County Executive Jenkins, and our Board of Legislators, and strong collaboration between county departments, we have addressed this issue and challenge through our Opioid Response and Overdose Prevention Committee, which Department of Community Mental Health co-chairs with our Department of Health and Dr. Amler's leadership. This includes the effective use of opiate settlement funding in partnership with service providers and made prevention, harm reduction, effective treatment, and recovery a priority of focus. A few of these efforts have led to increased availability of Narcan, which has led to more saves. And again, we want to thank Dr. Amler, her team, for increasing training and access to Narcan. We've also seen an increase in access to evidence-based treatment for adolescents and for our adults, and creation of a co-occurring curriculum available to all high schools in the very near future, and recovery services and supports. I want to thank our Department of Community Mental Health, Deputy Commissioner Glazer is here, Bill Weitz, Trevor Payne, and many of our service providers, leaders in the community who have made this progress in our effort to combat substance use overdose. Finally, we encourage all of you to join us this Wednesday, August 28th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at the City of White Plains Library Plaza 100 Martin Ave as we hold a day of remembrance and awareness. As the County Executive said, the theme of the 2024 International Overdose Awareness is Together We Can. It's a call to action to disrupt the heartache and devastation caused by overdose. Each and every one of us can contribute to healing families, communities, and our country. The primary purpose of this Wednesday's awareness event includes to publicly mourn loved ones, tell people who use substances and are in recovery that they are valued and cared for, inform our county residents about the risk of drug overdose, provide basic information and the range of services and supports available here in Westchester County, and prevent and reduce drug-related harms by supporting evidence-based practice. So we encourage all to come this Wednesday, August 28th from 5:30 to 7 here in White Plains. On this International Overdose Week, we affirm that when we work together, heal and empower communities, we can save lives and end overdose. Thank you, County Executive, for your leadership in this effort. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Michael Orth, Commissioner of our Department of Community Mental Health. And in so many initiatives, this department under Michael's leadership has sought to do just as he said in terms of the overdose community, the work that they've done in working through the State Attorney General, the money that has come through her effective lawsuits with those that have produced opioids, and now having resources to be able to do programs and services to reduce addiction. And there's the parallel structure that we've talked about before in terms of dealing with those who've been involved in families where there's been a completed suicide, and to have a place as we have at Ridge Road Park, the Healing Garden, where you can have a contemplative place to deal with those that we've lost and those now that we're talking about, as well as having lost from overdose. It's important to understand that this issue is not segmented in any one part of our community. It doesn't matter whether you're particularly rich or poor. It doesn't matter which zip code you live in. This scourge has affected people all across the board. So it is not merely the problem of one demographic group. It's a common, a universal problem, and it requires a universal response. Thank you for your leadership, Michael, and we hope to continue as a county government these efforts and energies, and we thank you for it. I also want to thank Deputy Commissioner Joe Glazer, who's here with us in the room, Bill Weitz, who's part of the DCMH team, and others for their involvement. It is never one person that does anything, certainly not just the county executive, but the talent in this department, as in other departments, really is why we have the response we do. So thank you very much, and thank you for being here. You've just seen two perfect examples of the leadership that exists in Westchester County that have been willing to make their career presence here in this county. And we could easily talk to Joe Spano, who heads our corrections department, Richard Wishney, who has stepped forward to lead our emergency services department, Blanca Lopez, Commissioner of Planning, Marguerite Byrne, who heads our IT operation, Kathy O'Connor, the exceptional leader of our Parks, Recreation, Conservation Department, on and on and on. This quality of leadership, and I've always believed from my time in my corporate years before I was involved in government, that the most important challenge of an executive is to attract or retain talented people in each of these areas of endeavor. I have freely admitted my knowledge in these areas and other areas of public policy does not extend to the knowledge that these commissioners and their key people have. But to have those people as part of an overall team that can make policy decisions, then to fund those things appropriately. We've been able to lower property taxes in the aggregate over the last 5 years from the county side of things, and at the same time retain talent and be able to do programs. All of that is an important mission, and I think that reflects the fact that Westchester residents have been well served by the work that Michael Orth and his team has done, as with Charlita Amler. So I'm pleased to have both of them here with us today, and we'll move on to a couple of other topics as well. First of all, we want to highlight that we have a less than ideal anniversary to face that's coming up, and that is that on August 29th, 2021, during the hurricane season, the I-lettered hurricane that landed in the United States mainland was Hurricane Ida. And she made landfall in Louisiana in the vicinity of the mouth of the Mississippi River on August 29th, almost 3 years ago. And the remnants of the storm worked their way through the mainland of the country, coming up the Mississippi Valley. Now, oftentimes when we look at tracks of hurricane, we're in hurricane season now, we'll see the reports, those that are coastal, that hit the east coast of Florida, come up the coast. We're worried if they're going to come close to land or farther out to sea. The further out to sea, the less the impacts. The closer they come to land, they'll have an impact. 4 years ago, we had Hurricane Isaias, which came through in almost a fraction of a second with high winds, no rain, no flooding, but high winds which knocked out power lines and created a real power problem for us in the county. Hurricane Ida was surreptitious in that the path of the hurricane did not directly come to Westchester until it was over land for a number of days, and we'd kind of forgotten about it. But when she came on the night of September 1st, she hovered over this area and poured out a tremendous volume of rain that created great flooding. We had 5 civilian deaths that were attributable to Hurricane Ida, people who were out in their cars at the time and faced impossible situations for which they could not escape from, and left a tremendous amount of flooding damage done, some of which has been repaired, some of which is not fully back to where it could be. We are subject to flooding in an area like ours because of our natural topography. We are at the near the bottom of the Hudson River. We are at the mouth of Long Island Sound, and so water that flows from north of us flows down through our communities and out to the bodies of water. When there's high tide and water cannot get out, it backs up, it ponds back. And then, of course, we have developed in this county much land to the profitable benefit of businesses and homes, but much less open land to absorb that water. And when Hurricane Ida came through, she made a mess of this. It took a lot of very good people to voluntarily work hard and tirelessly to help us get back on our feet. We did get back on our feet. We could not reclaim the lost lives, but we've made an effort to strengthen our resiliency in a variety of different places, some of the efforts we've made. But the efforts are tremendously expensive and are never fully complete. Engineering response to flooding still doesn't obviate the fact that there's a natural flow of water. And if we get incidents like a Hurricane Ida in the future, we will continue to have our system stressed. and the potential for flooding continues to exist. But it is important to remember that was 3 years ago, right about this time. We survived it, but it was a very impactful storm. And it is a reminder to us, we are in hurricane season. We expect to see additional hurricanes come through, and we're going to have to be ready for what happens in that. We had some sad news that was announced a couple of weeks ago, and that was that WCBS 880 Radio would cease their all-news operations for the first time in 57 years, and that period of cessation came yesterday at the end of Sunday's day. This morning, ESPN has sports radio on. It was on FM station. Now you have it on the 880 dial where WCBS existed before. My friends know that I'm a big sports nut. I will turn on 880 to listen to a Mets game. I'll turn on 660 to listen to a Yankees game. They even have Boston Red Sox games on 1490 WGCH up the dial if you're so interested. But WCBS 880 AM performed a tremendous public service by having all-news radio. And there's still an all-news radio station, 1010 WINS, but WCBS really provided tremendous coverage of the suburbs. And reporters like Sean Adams and others, and years ago, we, up to this day, we've had tremendous attention when we had important news in Westchester County that it wasn't lost under the banyan tree of New York City, because New York City, 9 million people, generates an incredible amount of information, and there's more people who live there and therefore are interested in it. But WCBS 880 always put attention to Westchester County, and we benefited greatly from that news radio station. Catherine Chaffee, who is our Director of Communications, is an alum. She was a street reporter. In fact, the first time I met her was exactly that. She had worked on WFUV radio station, Fordham University. I did the same thing quite a long time before she went to college. And when I first met her and she was interviewing me, she was a tough interview. I didn't particularly, felt I could drop my guard when I was talking to her, but she was smart. And so we brought her on board. And that was training from WCBS 880 that helped sharpen her skills. And of course, those skills are on display now. She is involved in collecting some of the information from those who are alums. If you're watching and you have been part of the WCBS 880 family, contact Catherine. She's here at 995-2900 and make a connection. But we have seen not only now the loss of WCBS, and there's business decisions that are being made. There's a great demand for sports on the radio, advertising dollars and so forth will follow the demand of listeners. All news radio, new local news in general has not been able to attract the same amount of attention. You see a generational shift in how people consume information. Much more information now consumed on your telephone. And when you consume it on your telephone, particularly if you consume it from social media, it's not necessarily vetted news. I read this online. From what source? Who verified that it was true? A lot of rumors, speculations, conspiracy theories now can spread very easily in the social media without a checking rigor that comes from those who are committed to true journalism. And WCBS 880 provided that for us. We've lost that radio station. We lost WVOX, the small local station, 1460 last year. We've lost local newspapers like the Rivertown Enterprise, Scarsdale Inquirer, Bedford Record Review. These were staples in their local communities. Some of these papers do rise and some fall. We've seen, obviously, our daily newspaper in this area, the Journal News, LOHUD is the use for it, also have to deal with the changing consumer preferences. In the same way that people shop online, and they do not go to bricks and mortar stores to the same degree that they used to, so do people consume their news differently. And when they consume it differently, is there a place for local news? How do you find out what your planning board is doing in the municipality that you live in? How do you find that out? How do you find out what your county government is doing? We're a county government of $2.4 billion, 4,200 employees. We affect lots of different areas of public life, but how do you know what we're doing? Those of you who may be watching this right now may get a flavor of it, but the viewership for this is, relatively targeted by those people who are willing and interested. So WCBS 880 gave us that much broader listenership, and I found it particularly helpful to me personally because I spend so much time in my car going from point A to point B, and I turn on the radio. When I turn it on, I knew when I would hear sports, and I knew when I would hear weather and traffic reports, particularly when you're driving any kind of long distances. So we regret the loss of that radio station. We give great respect to all those who put their professional energy and effort into that work, and we hope for the best for the individuals, that they will find places to take their craft and continue to serve us, and that we will remind ourselves that the fastest way to lose a free society and a free democracy is to lose the free independent press. If we do not have voices that cover news, then the vast majority of us will not know how to discern what is true and what isn't, what is important and what isn't, and those are the steps where democracy begins to decline. Let us hope that this particular decision isn't a major step along those lines. I tend to be optimistic rather than pessimistic in general, but it is a loss, and we regret that. And we wish all of our friends at WCBS 880, who are now all alum of that station, the very best as we go forward. Hope to see them again in some other context. We have coming up the annual remembrance of September 11th. The event of that day, the terrorist attack on the United States, reflected at the World Trade Center in New York, in the Pentagon in Virginia, and in the skies over Pennsylvania, represent something so shocking in the American mindset that we refer to it just by the date alone, September 11th. That means something dramatic. For those of us who live here in the New York metropolitan area, we all had connections to people that were affected that day, and those that died that day. We had civilians that died that day. We had first responders, primarily firefighters, but police and EMS as well, that died that day. And now with illnesses that came from those who worked on the pile to restore the site so it could be developed, we now have 9/11 related illnesses for which people are dying prematurely 20 years, 25 years after the act because of their exposure in dealing with what happened on that day, 9/11. So this is an unfortunate story that is not yet completely told. We have in Westchester County, going back almost 20 years, the creation of a wonderful monument. If you haven't seen it, you owe it yourself to see it. It's called The Rising. It is located at the Kensico Dam Plaza. It is as you approach the dam from the parkway, you're looking north to the dam. It is to the east or to the right of the plaza, and it is a soaring sculpture. It's triangular in shape, but the outer skin reflects the imaging of the skin of the World Trade Center building, the individual lines that made it such a distinctive building. We have just added now in the last couple of years a wall of remembrance where we put the names of people who have died from 9/11 related illnesses. The 103 people who died that day from Westchester County are memorialized in the stones around the perimeter of the Rising, but along the perimeter of the area, we have now a wall for 9/11 responders, first responders who died. We plan now a 2-day commemoration of this event. On the night before September 11th, September 10th, we have an interfaith prayer vigil that will be held at that site at 5 p.m. at the Rising, and also the 9/11 First Responders Memorial. That service that begins at 5 p.m. will include members of clergy of all different denominations. It will have the tone of tapping into all of our religious traditions so that we have something that links us together. We may have different faith traditions, but we all have a common human concern for that which was lost that day. And we have to remind ourselves that for those of us who were alive that day and have remembrance for 9/11, there are now amongst us young adults who were not alive that day. They're graduates of high school now, they're in colleges, they're out in the workforce. For them, it is a matter of history in the same way that Pearl Harbor is a matter of history to me. I was born 8 years after Pearl Harbor. My parents talked about it, what it was like for them to hear that news on the radio that morning in 1941, but I don't have a personal connection to it. And now there are young people who don't have that personal connection to what happened on 9/11. So it's important for us to have those memorial activities. Then the following day at 3 o'clock, we have our annual memorial service, same location at Kensico Dam Plaza. Weather resistant, we will be prepared to be under tent and as dry as we can be if it does rain that day, but it will happen at that time. We plan our service at 3 o'clock because most local communities have their services in the evening. There are a couple that have morning services, Eastchester, White Plains, Yonkers. Most of them have them at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in those communities. So by us having ours at 3 o'clock, we allow individuals who want to be with us for the memorial to do so, and then to go on to their local memorials as well thereafter. It is a somber day. It's a work day, and so people will be coming to do their work under normal circumstances. But if you're free on September 11th at 3 o'clock, please join us at Kensico Dam Plaza. We are going to highlight the work that we do with Volunteer New York. As 9/11 as a day of remembrance, but also as a day of public service, to honor the memory of those that died by doing things in the community that are of value. There'll be more about that. We'll have a separate press conference to cover that, and we look forward to working with our friends in the Volunteer New York world to try to be helpful in that. But we hope that you'll put that on your calendar for September 11th. It's a sobering moment, but it's also a very important moment. Let me give you a few more of the updates of things that are happening. This is usually the Ken Jenkins part of the program, where we talk about the different parks activities, so we'll run through them. Tomorrow is Tuesday, August 27th, at the Westchester, the shopping mall here in downtown White Plains. We have the daily mall walk, or the weekly mall walk, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. It's Tuesdays and Fridays, so it's twice a week. You go at your own pace. That's pretty much what I want to hear at my age. And there's an inspiring group of people who are walking with you, so you have conversation, and it helps you get those steps in. I'm trying to hit 10,000 a day. You do it, you don't do it, but this is an opportunity for you to do something that's good for your health and a good socializing activity. Also tomorrow on the 27th is outdoor Zumba class at the aforementioned Kensico Dam Plaza, 6:30 to 7:30 in the evening. Now, we are getting closer to the fall, but it's still late enough for you to be able to enjoy an outdoor Zumba class. This is led by instructors Steve and Ania Jones. You'll have a great time. You'll get a good workout, you'll sweat, you'll move, and it'll be a wonderful thing. This is free, and it's also coming up on September 3rd and September 17th, 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. each of those different nights. Wednesday of this week, back to Kensico Dam Plaza, we have the latest of our Robeson Summer Concert Series. It's Jam at the Dam, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Tonight, the concert on that evening, this again is Wednesday night of this week, August 28th, is a concert that features Jim Kenny and the Pirate Beach Band. Take a wild guess who they're a tribute band for. If you said Led Zeppelin, you'd be wrong, but if you said Jimmy Buffett, you would be right. Jimmy Buffett, Zach Brown, that music, the tropical island type, layback Margaritaville music, that is what Jim Kenny and the Pirate Beach Band specializes in. You come to Kensico Dam Plaza and you'll be transported magically to Key West. And then on Friday, we have another Robeson Summit Concert Series, Jam at the Dam from 7 to 9, and that concert features a tribute group, Dave Matthews Tribute Band, and that's free parking, admission. It's a great time. This is, as the summer days winnow out, one of the great joys of Westchester in the summer is going to these summer concerts. Some of the municipal concerts are still happening this week. Pelham, still Gazebo Park tonight, Monday night. Rye Brook has an evening concert on Wednesday. So does New Rochelle at the Hudson Band Shell at Hudson Park. And Tarrytown is doing their thing at Pearson Park on Thursday night. But we have the Robeson Summer Concert Jam at the Dam Thursday night, Friday night, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday night, all great stuff. So we hope that you'll be part of all of those things and get a good enjoyment out of it. That's going to do it for our report today. I want to thank again our guests, our two commissioners who are with us here, Charlita Amler in Health and Michael Orth in Community Mental Health, for their leadership and their service. We thank you all for watching and listening. We'll be back again on Tuesday, September 3rd. That's when you start charging for the buses again, so take the free Beeline bus between now and then. We'll be back on Tuesday, September 3rd. We'll give you an update of some things that are happening at that point as we get into the fall season. We will be getting into county budget season with public forums, and then the release of our capital budget in October, operating budget in November, and then we'll have more conversations about what happens in the new year. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. Thank you for watching. Thanks for taking the time. Be safe. Enjoy this last week of summer. Go to those concerts. Ride the bus. And we'll see you in a week.